tonight we're witnessing a rather unusual item. Kentucky is going to start a basketball game early. Somewhere 8 or 9 years ago, Adolph Rupp developed a superstition on starting games at 3 minutes past 8 o'clock. And tonight, this game's gone off at 8 o'clock, or actually about a minute early. A minute before 8. By standard procedure here at Kentucky, that's about 4 minutes early. But moving out is Lee Marshall at 6'5", Ed Beck at 6'7", giving Kentucky 2 inches height advantage. The season's underway as they both miss it, and Vernon Hatton picks it up on the bounce. The pass is over to Hatton. Moes in front court. Pass on the left side to Cox. A fake, a one-bounce dribble, and out to Calvert. Shot, shortened to the right, no good. Tapped up in the air, and the Generals have got it. Marshall loses it, but it's picked up on the side by Storick. So Kentucky makes a stab at the basket. One shot, no score. Up in front court, the Generals work it now. Down the right side, the pass is to Smith. Works it back out to Hoss. Hoss works across, 3 out, 2 in. Here's a jump shot from the outside by Floor, and it's no good. Hatton had it, knocked away from him, and up with it from on the floor is Barkley Smith of Washington and Lee. Still a scoreless ball game after 40 seconds of play. Lee Marshall has it to the outside now. The Generals are using the middle for running room, playing the horseshoe offense with 2 corner men and 3 out. Here's Marshall with it on the left side. Smith goes through, Beck knocks it down. Calvert picks it up. Over to Johnny Cox. He's on the break, misses the driving crip shot on a difficult chance from the left side, and the Generals have it back as Smith picks up the rebound. Over to Storick, who moves in front court after 1 minute. Out to Lee Marshall. Then out deep. Here's a fake and a break by Dom Flora. Flips off on the side to Smith. Out it goes again to Hoss. Back over, and here's the drive as Cox tries to cut him off. A foul is called on Johnny Cox of Kentucky, and it's the first personal foul of the game. 6'3" Barry Storick, co-captain of the Generals, is on the free throw line for one attempt. 1 minute, 11 seconds have been played, and neither team has scored. Here's the first free shot. Storick sights, the right-hander hits, and Washington and Lee is in front 1-0. Storick's taking a bonus shot now. Kentucky, as the new rule this season dictates, has both of the good rebounding positions on that 12-foot lane. Bonus shot's good by Storick, and the Generals lead 2-0 as Calvert wheels it in front court to Cox on the right side. He passes out to Hatton, a fake, one-bounce dribble, and over to Cox, who moves into the right corner with it, has it knocked out of his hands and out of bounds. It goes to Kentucky as Storick, who knocked it away from Cox, was unable to hold on to it. Ed Beck will put it in play, lines him up 4 abreast on the right-hand side of the court. Passes into the corner to Calvert. He sets, flips out to Hatton. He sets, moves off of it to the keyhole. Double team gives to Cox. The shot, no good. Hatton taps it in. Vernon Hatton of Kentucky draws the first field goal of the game to tie it at 2-2. Moving back in front court for the Generals now is Dom Flora. Pass down the right side to Hoss. Frank Hoss, who's 6'5". Out to Storick, off the left to Marshall. He's out deep with it. Pass out to Barkley Smith and back to Marshall. Down to the left side. Flora drives on Calvert, and the foul. Charging. Dom Flora committing the first personal for the Generals. We've played 1 minute and 58 seconds. A defensive foul and an offensive foul have been called so far. The defensive foul on Johnny Cox of Kentucky, and now the offensive foul on Flora, which sends Jerry Calvert to the Kentucky free throw line for one try. Calvert's the only man under 6 feet on the Kentucky team this year. He hits. And for the first time, Kentucky has the lead. 3-2. And a bonus shot coming to Calvert, the redhead from Maysville. He flips it up in between the knees, good. And it's Kentucky 4, Washington and Lee 2 here in the early minutes of play. 2 have gone, 18 to go in this first half. Moving up in front court now is Flora, feeding the left side to Marshall. Pass goes over to Hoss. Down the right side, Dom Flora breaks out. Calvert picked off, and the shot, it's good. It's Dom Flora with his first field goal, and it's a 4-4 game. Cox on the left side for Kentucky. Pops a one-hander, shortened to the left, no good. Taking it off, Barkley Smith can't get to it, and it's tapped in. Ed Beck knocked it in. First field goal for Beck to make it 6-4 for the Wildcats. Washington and Lee attacking now as Flora has it up in front court. Very deliberate offense here for the Generals. On the right side, it's Storick holding it away from Cox. Lobs a pass out in front to Hoss and over to Flora. Dom Flora takes the shot off the top of the circle, and it's no good. Beck taps it up in the air. Calvert knocks it over, and Hatton's got it. Wheels it up past the dividing line for the Cats, who are attacking without a set pattern pretty much so far. Calvert sets it up, passes to Cox, who moves out, fakes to Hatton. Indication there that the Generals have scouted these Wildcats, or at least that play they hit it off. Here's Cox with a 20-footer. It's no good. Beck taps it in. Fine play of a 6'7" Ed Beck for his second field goal, and it's Kentucky 8, Washington and Lee 4. Now the Generals from Lexington, Virginia, attacking. Lee Marshall with it outside. Passes one over to Barkley Smith and back to Marshall. Down the left side to Storick. Two-handed set shot, way short, comes off to Calvert. The little man flips over to Krigler on the fast break. First time he's had the ball. Krigler passes over to Hatton, moving into the keyhole. Triple team, hangs on, fights his way, but a foul is called. Dom Flora, across the arms, has been tagged with his second personal of the game as Washington and Lee ganged Hatton. He'll take one free throw. Beck has 2, Hatton has 1 in the field goal department, and Calvert has a pair of free throws to give Kentucky a 4-point advantage on Washington and Lee. Here's Hatton, two-hander from between the knees, good. Kentucky has a 5-point advantage. Washington and Lee broke on top 2-0. Since then, Kentucky's outscored them 9-2. Hatton up, sighting. Here's the bonus shot. It's good. Kentucky 10-4 over Washington and Lee. Now it's Washington and Lee moving up with Lee Marshall, getting it on the left side out deep. Washington and Lee still keeping the pivot open. Here's one bouncing off the knee of Dom Flora on a short hop pass thrown in there. Picked up by Calvert over to Hatton, lays it down and walks with it. Hatton walking, gives it out of bounds to Washington and Lee off the side of the backcourt. Dom Flora gets the pass flipped in by Storick. As we go into the last 16 minutes of the first half, pass on the right side to Smith. He's guarded by Hatton. Krigler's on Hoss out front. Back it goes on the side, and then out to the top rim of the circle. And here's a shot by Flora, no good, to the left. Beck high for the rebounds, got it. And, man, it's a little rough under those boards right now as everybody's fighting for it. Here's Calvert in front court to Hatton. Cuts in down the middle, and a foul as he jumps to shoot, good. The goal is no good. Barkley Smith draws the personal foul and his first one. Hatton fouled before he took off for the shot that was good. Here's a timeout. Washington and Lee. Kentucky 10. The Generals 4. You know, as the 35th National 4-H Club Congress in Chicago draws to a close, Standard Oil Company, its dealers and field representatives join All America in saluting the 1,200 delegates who attended, as well as all 4-H members, 2 million strong across the country. The 4-H theme of the year is improving family and community living. And certainly 4-H members help to achieve that goal in many ways. Last year, more than 56,000 members completed projects in the 4-H tractor program. In addition to providing county, state, and national 4-H awards, the cooperating donors provided funds for the training of nearly 4,000 adult leaders. Through 4-H, young Americans are becoming good citizens while gaining valuable work experience at home, on the farm, and in their communities. Now it's back to the ball game as Vernon Hatton steps to the Kentucky free throw line. He's got one coming. Hatton has hit 2 for 2. Is tied with Beck for leading score honors right now. He goes on top with his 5th point at the free throw line, and he'll draw a bonus shot. 15 minutes and 34 seconds in this first half here at the Coliseum in Lexington. Opening game of the season as Hatton sights, and the bonus shot short. Beck rebounds, lays it up, no good. Rebounds and throws it out to Calvert. Behind his back to Hatton, a 20-foot shot's good. Vernon Hatton with his second field goal has put Kentucky on top 13-4. Up in front court now, Flora over to Hoss to Smith, and Storick on the side, and then out front to Barkley Smith. The Marshall jump shot, no good. Johnny Cox rebounds for Kentucky. Here are the Cats on the break. 3-3, pass to Krigler on the left side. He pulls it to the outside and stops. Out to Cox to Hatton to Calvert. He sets in a 25-footer's no. It's good! Looked like it was off to the right, but Calvert was using the board for his first field goal and 4th point, and the Cats lead 15-4. Dom Flora in front court for Washington and Lee. Over to Lee Marshall. Out it goes to Barkley Smith. On the right to Flora. Jump shot, no good. Up high, Ed Beck gets the rebound. Hooks one out to Jerry Calvert. Cats fast breaking as Krigler lets it bounce off his shoulder, picks it up, and's fouled from the rear. Personal foul against Washington and Lee's Frank Hoss, who lost his balance, and couldn't avoid that collision with Krigler. So John Krigler of Kentucky goes to the line for one try. 14 minutes and 35 seconds in this first half. The Cats lead by 11 points. Krigler shoots and misses. Rebound knocked down and out of bounds. Goes to the Kentucky Wildcats. Opposite the Generals, Frank Hoss. Ed Beck out of bounds, calls his play. Pass into Hatton, breaks into the middle. The shot, it's good. Vernon Hatton floated a mighty soft one up that held the basket, and it is 17-4 Kentucky lead. Hatton has 9 points. Top man, here's Marshall breaking on Beck and shoots no good. Beck pushed him, though, and the foul is number 1 on Ed Beck. The second one on Kentucky. Now 14 minutes, 11 seconds here in the first half as Lee Marshall of Washington and Lee goes up for 1 shot. Check 2 shots. Lee Marshall makes his first free throw and stands in for the second one now, and it's good. Johnny Cox rebounds for Kentucky, flips it out to Calvert at the top rim of the circle. He's on the left side with a pass to Krigler. Breaks for the basket, and the shot's good. Fine play by John Krigler for his first field goal. The incoming pass is to Storick, to Dom Flora, and Washington and Lee trailing 19-5. Come back to the attack. Out to Lee Marshall. Pass over to Barkley Smith. Down the right side to Dom Flora. Drives out, and a jump shot over Calvert is knocked down and picked up by Ed Beck off the boards. Flipped over to Jerry Calvert, and moves up in front court with it. Off the top rim of the circle, he flips back to Beck and has it handed right back to him. Over to Johnny Cox on the left side. He pulls up. Hatton goes by. Cox feeds him. Hatton breaks through the middle. The shot's good. Fine twisting shot by Vernon Hatton. And it is 21-5 for the Wildcats, and that brings McCann, the Washington and Lee coach, up off the bench. The Generals want a time. It's their second one of the ball game, and a fine hand for Kentucky at the timeout. Well, we saw Storick at the free throw line hit 2 as he was fouled with Johnny Cox. Put Washington and Lee in front, and Vernon Hatton tapped one in. Calvert, fouled by Flora, got both free throws to put Kentucky on top 4-2, but Flora, with a 12-foot shot, had tied it up 4-4 with 17 minutes and 40 seconds still in this first half. Then Beck got 2 tap-ins in a row. Hatton got 3 out of 4 free throws, and Kentucky led 11-4. Then Hatton hit from the outside, Calvert hit from the outside. Krigler at the free throw line missed, and Hatton hit the field goal to make it 17-4. Then we had a free throw by Marshall, a crip by Krigler, and Hatton driving. So right now it's 21-5 with 13 minutes, 14 seconds to go. 4.5 minutes. The Generals have not scored a field goal in that period. Now they're going to the attack again as Barkley Smith putting it in play, and Tom Flora passes down the left side to Storick, who breaks in. Here's a foul. Johnny Cox, nope, it's on 24 of Washington and Lee, Dom Flora. 24 and 24 were involved in the case. Nope, we were wrong. It's going to be on Johnny Cox. What happened there was 24 and 24 were both involved in it, and 24 of Kentucky, Johnny Cox, is drawing the personal foul. It's his second one. And 23, Lee Marshall will shoot the free throw. He's hit one and missed one. This one's good. He gets the bonus shot. 13 minutes and 6 seconds in the first half here at the Coliseum in Lexington. Opening game of the season is Marshall. He's a Kentucky boy from Ashland. Drops in the second free throw for his third point. That makes it 21-7. Johnny Cox has it on the left side for the Kentucky Wildcats. Out to Hatton, over to Calvert. Down the right side to Krigler. Moves out, gives to Vernon Hatton. Sets, breaks down the right side. He's picked up at the baseline. Bounce pass out to Calvert. Here's a set shot. Good. Jerry Calvert with a field goal from the outside makes it 23-7 for the Wildcats. 12 minutes and 45 seconds in the first half. As Washington and Lee gets it to put in play. Dom Flora comes past the dividing line with it. Angling to the left side and feeding a pass to Storick. Handoff now to Barkley Smith. Smith out to Flora. The shot, no good off the top rim of the circle. And a foul on John Krigler. It's his first one. And there are 4 fouls against each team. Dom Flora, who's committed 2 for Washington and Lee, is on the free throw line for the first time. He has the Generals' only field goal. Puts the right foot right up on the line. Now here's Flora's free throw. Good. Bonus shot coming to Flora. bonus shot by 6'2" Dom Flora is good. Kentucky's lead is 23-9. Calvert, high, pass to Krigler, breaking wide open, he lays it in. Krigler's second field goal, and the Cats lead 25-9. Fine pass there by Jerry Calvert, who got Krigler at the moment he needed it. Shot from the outside, no good by Storick. Johnny Cox lets it go, and it's out of bounds to Kentucky. Into Hatton, up to Calvert. The two guards talk it over as Cox moves into position, and Beck breaks out to the free throw line. Hatton feeds down the right side to Cox, back to Calvert, breaking into the right. He's cut off, passes out to Krigler, over to Hatton on the left side. He breaks on Flora, takes him to the baseline. Three men go for him. He hands off to Krigler, breaks down the baseline, flips a pass out to Beck to Calvert. He sets and waves it away, and then feeds the pivot to Beck, back to Calvert. Knocked away from him and out of bounds. Kentucky keeps possession. Trying to pinch a man off the pivot there. Calvert got open but didn't have the ball with him. Beck slams the ball into the palms of his hands. He feeds a high, fading pass to Cox, to Calvert, to Hatton on the left side at the corner. He breaks, and here's the shot. It's good. Counts, and a foul on the play against Washington and Lee. Foul goes against Frank Hoss, his second one. The field goal for Vernon Hatton is number 5. And he's got to try for his 14th point of the game right now, with 11 minutes and 34 seconds to play. 27-9, the Cats lead. As Hatton, with the right foot pulled slightly back, shoots good. 28-9, and Hatton has 15 of those points. Better than half. Moving up in front court is Barkley Smith for the Generals of Washington and Lee. Here's Story with a jump shot, no good from the left side. Bed Beck rebound, throws it to Krigler. Too much lead on him, and it's picked up by Barkley Smith of Washington and Lee. Fed into Lee Marshall, breaks and hooks over Beck, no good. It's good, came back for him. Lee Marshall gets his first field goal, and that's the Generals' first field goal in quite a few minutes. Here's the ball out of bounds as Krigler's momentum carried him over the baseline. Kentucky 28, Washington and Lee 11. We've got 11 minutes here in the first half. Back in front court is Dom Flora. Moves down the left side with Calvert playing him loosely. Passes down on the baseline to the left to Marshall, who walks with it, and it's out of bounds to Kentucky. Vernon Hatton moving up the back court with it. High pass to Beck on the free throw line, high pivot. Back to Hatton, wide open, he got it. Beautiful play by Hatton, and excellent teamwork to get him there. It's 30-15 as Hatton picks up 17 points so far. Jump shot from the outside, Dom Flora. It's his second field goal as the Generals now have 3 of them. Here's Johnny Cox, 20-footer. It's good. Johnny Cox off the left side of the floor gets his first field goal of the game. Kentucky 32, Washington and Lee 13. Well, after this game, the Cats will have the experience of the first game of the season. Now, here's a walking infraction on Storick of Washington and Lee. It'll have to go over the baseline. Hatton put it in play on the side of the back court. He has to go back and get it and flip it into Calvert. They talk it over, moving up the hardwood behind the dividing line. Hatton holds up play number 4. Calvert gets it wide open and kicked it out of bounds. Man, he's mad. He slammed the ball on the floor, and it bounced higher than the top rim of the backboard. Calvert had him 2 points. Couldn't hold on to the pass coming in from Beck off the pivot. Here it is on the right side for the Generals. High pass goes over the head of the pivot, Lee Marshall. Calvert moving right back with 9.5 minutes to go to Hatton. Off the left side to Cox. He uncorks one, no good. Beck gets the rebound knocked away from him by Frank Hoss, who gets it for the Generals. Up the way to Storick on the left side. He moves out to the top rim of the circle, feeds over to Flora, breaks in on Calvert and lays it in. Flora has 3 of the Generals' 4 field goals now as it's 32-15. Vernon Hatton indicating the play as he crosses the dividing line, fakes to the left, feeds a high one in there to Beck, lays it to Cox, and a 15-footer's good. Johnny Cox with his second field goal puts Kentucky in front by 34-15. The Cats on top by 19 points right now. Barkley Smith back in front court, whips one into the pivot, and a turnaround shot by Storick is no good. Tapped up on the side, and it's no good. Taken off by Hatton, fed up to Calvert at the dividing line. Gives it to Hatton beautifully. He lays it in. Another fine pass by Jerry Calvert, and timeout, Washington and Lee. Their third one of the ball game. Kentucky 36, Washington and Lee 15, and listen to this roar. We've just been told that Vernon Hatton has hit all 7 of his field goal opportunities. He's got 4 out of 5 free throws. So that is the scoring right here at this moment. Well, you know that the bowl games were all settled today, and here's the picture for you on New Year's Day. Baylor has been named as the opponent of Tennessee in the Sugar Bowl. Syracuse has accepted the invitation to play Texas Christian in the Cotton Bowl. And Georgia Tech will play Pittsburgh in the Gator Bowl. That was all settled this afternoon. Well, the warning horn sounds to start the last 8 minutes and 35 seconds of first half play. Kentucky leading 36-15 over Washington and Lee. The Generals have it at the baseline and back court as we get ready to go back to action. We'll be back with you over these same stations Monday night, 7:45, when Kentucky plays Miami, Florida. Here are the Generals going to the attack now. Flora crossing the line, angling to the right, pulling up, waving it over his head as Calvert retreats. He passes back outside to Smith. Off the left side to Storick. Whips one in the pivot to Marshall. It's knocked down, out of bounds. Goes to the Generals opposite Ed Beck. Right in front of the bench. The Generals have it to put it in place. Storick feeds it into Marshall. On the left side, he's open. Got it. About 5-foot fall-away shot. Lee Marshall, an Ashland, Kentucky senior, got his second field goal. 36-17. Kentucky leads with 8 minutes in the first half. Vernon Hatton moves back past the stripe. High pivot pass to Beck. Slaps it down as he was afraid to handle it to Cox and out to Calvert, who says, set it up again. Bounce pass down the right side to Cox. Back to Calvert. Hatton goes through. The trailer gets it. Krigler, the shot. No good. Marshall rebounds. Krigler gets it away from him and shoots. Beck taps it in. Ed Beck taps in his third field goal, and Kentucky leads 38-17. Back in front court's Flora of Washington and Lee. Over to Storick. In the pivot to Marshall. A hook short off the rim. Beck knocks it down and gets it for Kentucky. Whips a pass to Hatton. The Cats go 4-on-3. Hatton flips over to Calvert. 15-foot jump shot. Good. Jerry Calvert's third field goal. Kentucky 40. Washington and Lee 17. No one expected this kind of a first half explosion from the Wildcats. Flora moving to the right, to the baseline. Calvert throws up his arms and drives him over the baseline. It's Kentucky's ball. Passes into Hatton. The Generals get their defense set. Passes over to Cox, back to Hatton. He takes it back to the front to set it up. Balance court on the left side to Cox. Moves out, flips behind him to Hatton, out to Calvert. Here's a 30-foot set shot. It's good. Calvert strikes again. Field goal number 4. Kentucky 42-17 over the Generals of Washington and Lee. Dom Flora in front court feeds Marshall. Breaks for the basket and shoots. Beck blocks foul. Ed Beck of Kentucky, his second one. 5 fouls against each team. 2 shots to Lee Marshall, who's hit 3 out of 4. 6 minutes, 38 seconds in this first half of play. The shot, no good by Marshall. He played on the same high school team with Earl Atkins of Kentucky. Brothers back this year after being held out one season. It's good by Marshall. Kentucky 42, Washington and Lee 18 as Calvert's quickly back in front court for the Wildcats. Breaks on Marshall, shoots, and the shot is blocked by Frank Hawes. Picked up by Calvert, though, coming quickly back to the outside. Handed off to Cox and back to Calvert, outside setting it up. Over to Krigler on the left, moves out to the top of the circle, flips to Calvert. Over to Hatton on the left side. Neither team substituted. Hatton weaves and drives, and he's held around the waist as he drives for the basket, and he's charging. It's the first foul on Hatton, and here's the first substitution of the game. Gary McPherson comes in for Washington and Lee, replacing Barkley Smith. McPherson is a 20-year-old junior from Cass, West Virginia. He's 6 feet, weighs 185. Co-captain Barry Storick of Brooklyn, New York, who got the first 2 points of the ball game, is on the free throw line for the Generals. Storick sights, and his shot no good. Krigler whips it across the lane to Hatton on the fast break, 3-3. Hatton out to Johnny Cox, over to Hatton. Beck goes to the pivot, the pass is to Calvert. Pass goes in, free throw line high to Beck. He slams one that's over the shoulder of Hatton. Krigler picks it up out deep and gives back to Hatton. Hatton hands to Calvert, moves into screen for him. Calvert breaks to the right off the screen, just a fake break and backed up. Over to Cox, back to Calvert. Into Hatton, he goes for it, gets under, lays it up, no good. Krigler taps it in. John Krigler gets his third field goal to put Kentucky on top 44-18. Flora in front court for Washington and Lee, moves to the right side, free throw line deep, then turns and passes out to McPherson. Right back to Flora, into Marshall, 15-foot hook, no good. Cox mistimed the rebound jump and still came down with it. Whips one to Krigler, breaking up the backcourt. He pulls up and flips to Hatton just across the dividing line. Kentucky sets it up. Hatton moves in, free throw line, gives to Beck. A 20-foot jump shot's good. Ed Beck from the outside for his 4th field goal. Kentucky leads 46-18. Flora moving back in front court for Washington and Lee. Passes out to McPherson deep. Then passing one into the pivot to Frank Haas. Off the right to Storick. Into Marshall. Fakes the hook. Beck comes into him, and as he hooks, he's pushed by Beck. And it's the 3rd foul on Ed Beck. Off the Kentucky bench comes Dick Howe, who's never been in a varsity game. Howe was originally scheduled to wear number 51, and he has made a change to number 35 as Ed Beck comes out. First Kentucky substitution. Howe is a 20-year-old sophomore from Carbondale, Illinois. He's 6'5", weighs 208. The name is Howe. Lee Marshall shoots and hits. He gets a bonus shot. Howe, an engineering student, was held out last year as he needed 5 years anyway to get his degree. The second shot, or a bonus shot by Marshall, is good. And with 5 minutes in the first half, Kentucky leads by 26 points. Vernon Hatton in front court gets Howe on the pivot, then feeds Krigler on the left side. He slips and walks with it. More than slipping, Krigler lost his balance as his momentum got away from him. Washington and Lee attacking. Flora outside deep with it, gets a double screen and works to the left off of it. Marshall hooks again and misses. Now it's a foul called against Kentucky's Howe just in the ball game. First foul on Dick Howe, and Johnny Brewer is being waved in for the Wildcats. He's a 21-year-old senior from Anchorage, went to high school at Eastern, and Krigler is coming out. Brewer, 6'3", weighs 182. Marshall back at the free throw line. Shoots and misses. Has another one coming, however. He's had 9 tries at the free throw line. He's picked up 6 points there. Second shot, no good again. Rebound by Dick Howe of Kentucky over to Hatton, who's up in front court. Passes to Calvert on the right side to Johnny Cox. Wide open, he fires from 20 feet and misses. Knocked down, 3 Wildcats watch it go out of bounds. Kentucky 46, Washington in lead 20. Dom Flora moves it up past the stripe. Breaks to the right. Stops and goes and falls away and misses. Comes off the rim. It's taken off by Calvert. He's knocked to the floor, and it's out of bounds to Washington and Lee. He was tipped over by Frank Haas in the fight for the ball, and Calvert had possession when he hit the baseline. Now Storick fires it into Flora out deep. He breaks to the right, gets in on Calvert, and Calvert, trying to make up ground, fouls him. It's the first foul on Calvert. 4 minutes to go. Flora, who's hit 2 for 2 tonight, is up for 1. Flora sights. Cautiously flips it up, no good. Rebound this time by Cox. Comes out of there with it. Fast breaking into the front court. He's stopped by Flora, who's stabbing for the ball but can't find it. Pass over to Calvert. Bounce pass in the pivot to Howe. Gives it to Calvert going in. Has it taken away from him as he falls into a line of photographers down under the Kentucky bench. It is Kentucky's ball over the baseline to the left of the basket where Dick Howe will put it in play. Slaps the ball. Bounce pass to Johnny Brewer, and the jump shot's good. Johnny Brewer gets his first field goal of the season. He's the 6th Wildcat to score as Earl Atkins comes off the Kentucky bench. Kentucky leading 48-20. Marshall comes back with a left-handed hook. It's no good. Johnny Cox rebounding for Kentucky. Flips one up to Johnny Brewer. Into front court to Hatton. Breaking for the basket. McPherson fouls him from the rear. That's the first foul on McPherson. Now coming into the Kentucky lineup is Adrian Smith, replacing Jerry Calvert. Smith is a junior college transfer, but he nonetheless is a Kentucky boy. He's from Farmington, 19-year-old junior, 6 feet tall, weighs 178. Storick comes out of the Washington and Lee lineup as Barkley Smith is in there to replace him. Earl Atkins is coming in for Vernon Hatton, who's on the free throw line right at this moment and can't leave the game. Hatton's up for 1 shot. He's hit 4 out of 5. Shoots and hits. Hatton's the leading scorer in the ball game. He's got 7 field goals, 5 free throws. Kentucky has a lead of 29 points. Chance to make it 30. 3 minutes and 15 seconds here in the first half. Hatton gets it. Kentucky leads 50-20, and Hatton comes out. Earl Atkins, 20-year-old junior from Ashland, Kentucky, replaces him. Atkins is 6'4", weighs 180. and Johnny Cox is the only starter in the lineup. He's a sophomore, though, and this is the first varsity game he's been in, and Coach Adolph Rupp will probably want to give him a lot more experience than anybody else. The Generals attack, trailing by 30 points with another 3 minutes to go. Out front with it is Flora. He's got Adrian Smith on him. Breaks to the right and fires from 15 feet and misses. Howe knocks it down and goes into the corner to get it. Flips it up to Smith, to Brewer. Moving in front court as Bill Cassidy comes off the Kentucky bench. Atkins from the outside hits. 35-footer by the outside shooting Earl Atkins for his first field goal. 52-20 for the Cats. Ten minutes and 54 seconds in the ball game. Kentucky 77, Washington and Lee 47. The Generals have outscored Kentucky in the second half. Flora's on the free throw line where he's hit 2 and missed 2. Shoots no good. Marshall taps it in. Marshall has tapped 2 in a row in without having the inside rebounding position as Collinsworth waits to come in for Kentucky. Pass goes to the pivot to Bill Smith. They left put it in again as Flora kicked the ball just slightly on the bounce in. 77-49 is Kentucky's advantage. He steals it this time. Well, he knocks it in backcourt and fouls Nope, didn't foul him. Atkins went in backcourt to pick it up. Passes it up to Adrian Smith off the left side to Brewer, and a 20-foot jump shot's good. That, incidentally, is only the 5th field goal for Kentucky in this half. After 9 minutes and 45 seconds, they got 5 field goals. But they hit 61.5% of their shots to destroy the Generals in the first half. Here's Barry Storick breaking by Atkins and missing a shot. Fight for the ball. Marshall taps it up twice. It's still on the floor and free. Bill Smith picks it up. He's clipped out from under it. And he came up with it. The ball rolled right up his back and on his hands. And he had it over to Brewer, who breaks, and he's fouled by McPherson. It's the second one on McPherson as Collinsworth comes in replacing Adrian Smith. Abe Collinsworth making his first appearance of the season. 20-year-old junior from Salyersville. 6'3", weighs 185. Johnny Brewer up to the Kentucky free throw line, trying one. 9 minutes and 54 seconds to play. Brewer has a field goal in each half. Shoots and misses. Bill Smith tries to tap and can't get to it. It's out of bounds to Washington and Lee. 79-49. Kentucky leads. High pass to Storick in the left corner. Passes one to Marshall, and he hooks her up there. This one's no good. Here's a foul on Earl Atkins. Second foul on Atkins. Two shots are being awarded Phil Palmer. It's going to be interesting to see how many shots Lee Marshall has had. Here's Palmer up for his first free throw try. It takes plenty of time. Slams it way high on the board, and it misses the whole basket. That ball hit completely out of the squared circle above the basket. 9 minutes and 41 seconds in the ball game. 79-49, Kentucky leads. The shot's good this time, right dead center without touching anything as Palmer breaks into the scoring column. Kentucky leading 79-50. Pass in the left corner to Johnny Brewer, and a quick jump shot's over the rim. Cassidy knocks it down, and the ball is slapped back in play to Washington and Lee's Dom Flora. He moves in, drives down the middle on Earl Atkins, and it is Washington and Lee's ball out of bounds. Storick to put it in play. Passes to Marshall. He hooks it up blindly. No good. But Bill Smith fouled him. First foul on Smith. Marshall trying a free throw and missing. Goes out of bounds to Kentucky. Abe Collinsworth in front court for the Wildcats. Passes over to Earl Atkins, into pivot to Bill Smith, moving to the left, flips it right into the hands of Phil Palmer of Washington and Lee. Up the way to Storick. Moves to the right, feeds Flora, breaking for the basket and misses. Storick taps no good. Fight for the ball. Jump ball is called. 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. Kentucky 79, Washington and Lee 50. The Generals have outscored Kentucky here in the second half. Atkins in jumping against Storick. He has 1 inch height advantage, but is out jumped as the ball is tapped back to Flora, and he fakes a shot and gives in to Phil Palmer. Back over to Flora, who drives and lays it in. Good. Foul is on Johnny Brewer, and the goal is good. Second foul on Brewer. Dom Flora's field goal is number 6 for him. He'll take one free throw. On the free throw line, he's hit 2, missed 3. Flora, a right-hander, shoots and hits. Kentucky 79, Washington and Lee 53. Earl Atkins in front court for the Wildcats, breaks to the left, comes back out into the circle and shoots no good. Pushing foul against Washington and Lee's Lee Marshall, and it's his third one. Earl Atkins on the free throw line for Kentucky has hit 1 and missed 1. 8 minutes, 32 seconds to go. He gets 1 shot. Atkins sights, and his try is no good. Taken off by Lee Marshall, who committed the foul for Washington and Lee. Over to McPherson, down the left side to Storick, who fakes a pass to the pivot and breaks. The shot's no good. Bill Smith rebounds for Kentucky, out to Johnny Brewer, up to Collinsworth, moving in front court. Collinsworth fakes and goes by Flora and misses the shot. Rebounding is Flora. Johnny Brewer hooks it away from him, but Flora recovers. Cassidy stabs forward and misses as Flora moves to the right, cuts back to the left, passes to Storick in the left corner, and a jump shot's good. That is Storick, co-captain, first field goal of the game. And here's Kentucky calling their first timeout as Washington and Lee moves to within 24 points of them. Kentucky had a lead at halftime of 33, but the Generals have been able to pull up now to within 79 to 55 on them. Well, with the timeout, let's look over some of the other football scores of the afternoon in case you may have missed them. This afternoon, Texas Christian beat SMU. It was TCU 21, SMU 6. Texas Christian will be playing in the Cotton Bowl New Year's Day against Syracuse. Baylor moved into the Sugar Bowl against Tennessee today as they whipped Rice. Baylor 46, Rice 13. Ole Miss had a closer than expected call with Mississippi State. They finally won it by 6 points. Mississippi 13, Mississippi State 7. Auburn had a close one in the early minutes with Alabama, and after that it was all over as they poured over 4 touchdowns in the second quarter, and it was Auburn 34, Alabama 7. LSU came up with a fourth quarter touchdown and kicked the extra point to beat Tulane in an upset 7-6. Clemson whipped Furman 28-7, and Miami had an easy win over Florida 20-7. Colorado A&M had one of the day's close games, finally winning 28-27 from New Mexico. Army and Navy played a 7-7 tie. Oklahoma finished its third straight undefeated season, 53-0 today over Oklahoma A&M. Houston beat Detroit 39-7. West Texas beat Midwestern 41-14. Here's Kentucky going back to play now. Zabes Collinsworth moves up in front court for the Wildcats. Double teamed and fouled by Storick, his fourth one. Out at Evansville today, the Refrigerator Bowl won by Sam Houston 27-13 over Middle Tennessee in football. Abe Collinsworth up to the free throw line for the Wildcats now. He hasn't scored. Chance to pick up his first point of the season as we move into the last 8 minutes. He does. Collinsworth gets the bonus shot. It's good. Kentucky 81, Washington and Lee 55. Stepped on the baseline. Marshall of Washington and Lee and putting it in play, and the Cats get it onto their own basket. Don't forget, Monday night, same time over these same stations, Kentucky and Miami. Bill Smith out of bounds, feeds one right into the hands of McPherson of Washington and Lee, and he's going to get a gimme. No, Collinsworth stopped him miraculously. Great hand for Abe Collinsworth, who really hustled to get in and stop a dead crip shot by McPherson. Storick puts a high pass in and Collinsworth knocks down. Flora picks up and shoots quickly, no good. Marshall taps up, no good. Marshall taps, no good. And it's rebounded by Atkins of Kentucky, and he's forced out of bounds with it, keeps possession. Atkins into Collinsworth. Moves up past the dividing line. Passes right into Storick of Washington and Lee. And the Generals are back in possession. Storick past the dividing line, handing off to Flora. Moves to the left on Collinsworth, gets by him and shoots no good. Collinsworth knocked to the floor as he gets the rebound and throws it. It's cut off by Flora of Washington and Lee. Takes a hook shot that's no good. Bill Smith rebounds, and it's knocked off the head of Palmer, and a foul on Lee Marshall of Washington and Lee. It's his fourth one. Kentucky 81, Washington and Lee 55. We have 6 minutes, 53 seconds to go. Kentucky has called one timeout in the game. Washington and Lee's called 5. They called 4 of them in the first half, trying to stem the shooting exhibition when Kentucky hit 24 of 39 attempts. Bill Smith, who hasn't scored in the game, is up for one free throw, and it's no good to the left. Tapped up by Brewer, no good. Knocked off his head. It's finally picking up by Storick of Washington and Lee. Fed high to McPherson, who shoots wildly and misses, and Collinsworth rebounding is fouled by Flora, committing his third one. 6 minutes, 45 seconds as Harold Ross checks into the Kentucky lineup for Earl Atkins. Harold Lloyd Ross, he's a 20-year-old junior from Hickman, Kentucky. 6'2", weighs 180. This boy can shoot. Johnny Hardwick is waiting to come in for Kentucky now, as Barkley Smith comes into the Washington and Lee lineup. Phil Palmer comes out. And for Kentucky, Johnny Hardwick checks in for Bill Cassidy. Year before last, Hardwick went to Duke. He didn't play basketball. Came up to the University of Kentucky last year and now is out for the team this year. Shooting and missing is Collinsworth. Scrap for the ball coming off the boards, and the Generals get it to Storick. Pulls it in and fires, and here is Hardwick knocking it away from McPherson out of bounds to the Generals. Kentucky 81, Washington and Lee 55. Incoming passes to Marshall. He's going to shoot. No good. Collinsworth drops the rebound, but Hardwick picks it up. Passes up in front court to Johnny Brewer, moving down the right side with it. Behind his back to Bill Smith. 15-footers, no good. Smith gets the rebound, fakes a shot, flips out to Collinsworth. The jump shot's in and out. Tapped off and taken by McPherson of Washington and Lee in the right corner. Over to Marshall, up the way to Storick. He moves past the dividing line, breaks down the left with Ross on him. Ross knocked it out of bounds, but hit him across the arms, and the foul is number 1 on Harold Ross. 6 minutes in the basketball game, with Kentucky leading 81-55. Washington and Lee scored 30 points in this second half after 25 in the first half. Shot's good by Storick. Until then, Storick had missed 3 in a row. 81-56, Kentucky leads. Last time these two teams got together, it was 96-46. Shot missed, and Brewer rebounds for Kentucky. Whips it out to Harold Ross, who moves up in front court, down the left side, breaks for the basket and lays it up, no good. Taken off by Marshall of Washington and Lee. And as he passes in front court, Ross cuts it off and takes it away from him, and he's fouled by Flora. Dom Flora commits his 4th foul for the Washington and Lee Generals. Stops the clock with 5 minutes and 46 seconds to go. Richmond has defeated the Citadel tonight. Richmond 91, the Citadel 69. Harold Ross making his first appearance at the Kentucky free throw line for one opportunity. Ross, the right-hander sights, shoots, and hits. Kentucky leading 82-56. Ross with a bonus shot, misses as it's short, knocked down on the floor. It's picked up by Flora, knocked away by Bill Smith, and they'll jump. Kentucky last season won their opening game from Louisiana State. It was a non-conference game to start the season down in Baton Rouge. One of the few times they open away from home. Here's Smith tapping it back deep to Harold Ross. Over to Johnny Hardwick, 25-foot set, shots off to the right, no good. Brewer drops the rebound. Taken off by Flora and fed up to Storick in the high bounce, breaks to the left side and lays it in. Storick gets his second field goal of the game, and it's Kentucky 82, Washington and Lee 58. Collinsworth moving up in front court. High pass to Smith. In the pivot is knocked away by Flora and picked up by Smith of Washington and Lee. Here's Storick having it knocked away by Brewer and picked up by Collinsworth. Collinsworth slows it down as he crosses the dividing line, angling over to the right with a pass to Hardwick. Hardwick outside to Ross, and a 25-footer is no good. Taken off by Lee Marshall, slinging those elbows as he comes down there with it. Keeps himself clear and then passes up to Storick to Flora. Flora with a 30-footer, misses. Taking it off this time's Hardwick. For Kentucky, moves up in front court, takes for a 15-foot shot that's way high on the boards, no good, and it's out of bounds to Washington and Lee. Kentucky 82, Washington and Lee 58. Storick moves up in front court for the Generals. Spider Webb comes off the bench. He's up from the freshman squad. Marshall hooks and misses. Brewer rebounds for Kentucky. Flips out to Collinsworth. Setting it up with Johnny Hardwick. Bill Smith on the free throw line high pivot as Hardwick gets it and calls his play. The ball is kicked by Storick as Hardwick tried to roll one underhanded into the pivot to Bill Smith. Bill Smith of Kentucky and Barkley Smith of Washington and Lee and Adrian Smith on the Kentucky bench. Here's Hardwick, 30-footer, good. John Hardwick lays in his first college field goal to put Kentucky out on top 84-58. Here's Marshall forcing a shot that's good. 7 field goals in this half for Marshall. 84-60, Kentucky leads. Ross hands off to Brewer, breaking to the left, goes by Smith, comes back with a turnaround shot that's short. Ross taps up no good. Collinsworth rebounds, lays it up no good. Taking it off is Smith, and Collinsworth fouls him. It's the first foul on Collinsworth. 13 Wildcats have been in the personal foul column tonight. 3 minutes and 29 seconds to play. Kentucky 84, Washington and Lee 60. The game actually was ended in the first half when Kentucky broke on top 58-25, hitting an amazing 61.5% of their shots. The Generals have eaten back into that lead here in the second half. Barkley Smith from the free throw line misses. Kentucky gets it out of bounds. Abe Collinsworth feeds it into Harold Ross. He moves up in front court with it. Into Hardwick, who drops it. Ross picks it up. Passes back outside to Collinsworth. Kentucky balancing court again. Over to Ross to Hardwick. He tries to pass under the basket. That's knocked out of bounds up deep in the crowd by Storick of Washington and Lee. To the right of the basket, Bill Smith will put it in play. Passes one out to Ross. Stepped on the line and throwing it in. It goes out to the Generals as we go into the last 3 minutes of action. Jack Daughtry waits to get in for the Generals as Marshall shoots again. No good. Tapped in by Barkley Smith. Second field goal for Smith. 84-62 now, Kentucky's lead. Ross on the right side to Hardwick. Has it taken away from him by Barney Storick. Hooks one up to Barkley Smith on the break. Smith saves, getting it back to Dom Flora, who breaks in and lays it up good. Well, the reserves certainly have been no match for Washington and Lee as they've had their 33-point lead cut to only 20. But it's been the reserves that the Generals have been able to whip. Now here's Collinsworth having it taken away from him by Flora, fed to Storick. Hardwick tried to stop him and did disturb the shot enough that he missed it. Ross rebounds, and now the Cats have got it 3-on-1. Let's see if they can make it. Yep, Bill Smith wide open, lays it in. That's only 7 field goals for Kentucky in this half. In 18 minutes, they've got 7 field goals. Well, they're just averaging up after that 61.5% in the first half. McPherson fades to Marshall, and he shoots. No good. Ross rebounds for Kentucky. Everybody seems to be a little bit tired now as Collinsworth is fouled by Dom Flora, and that's all of it. 5 of them for Flora. 1 minute and 45 seconds to play. Jay Bayless coming into the Kentucky lineup.
Kentucky number 19, Jay Bayless.
17 points for Dom Flora, who's fouled out. 1 minute and 45 seconds to go as he fouls out. Jay Bayless in a Kentucky lineup. He's from Knoxville, Tennessee. Malcolm Lassman has come back into the Washington and Lee lineup. Abe Collinsworth, who's hit 2 out of 3s on the Kentucky free throw line. Lining up around the horn to get defensive assignments. Jack Daughtry, Daughtry, in the Washington and Lee lineup. 6'3", weighs 185. 19-year-old sophomore from Chester, Virginia. Collinsworth is ready to go. He looks and shoots. It's good. It's his third point of the game. Kentucky holds an advantage of 87-64. Collinsworth for the bonus shot. It's good. Kentucky leading 88-64. Glassman in front court for Washington and Lee. Passes on the right side to McPherson. And to Phil Palmer. Looking for Marshall. High pass cut off by Hardwick of Kentucky. Moves up in front court with it. Feeds it over to Collinsworth. Breaks for the basket and collides with McPherson. Kentucky's Abe Collinsworth charging for his second personal foul. 1 minute and 28 seconds in the ball game. Kentucky's out in front 88-64. McPherson still walking around in the backcourt before walking up to the free throw line. Now McPherson walks into Daughtry and wonders why Daughtry's standing there. They're going to give the shots to... Nope, they shove him away and let the man who was hit shoot the free throw.
McPherson cheating.
Daughtry, thinking perhaps McPherson was shaken up too much, wanted to shoot the free throws. He does shoot and miss. Marshall stabs it up and out of bounds and goes to Kentucky. Abe Collinsworth flips it in close quarters to Harold Ross. Ross moves up past the dividing line, pulls in on the free throw line, feeds over to Brewer, breaks out of there, and the shot's no good. Taps it up, no good. Palmer takes it off for the Generals, passes up now to Lassman, who moves in front court, whips a pass off the hands of Collinsworth right up into the crowd. As we go into the last 1 minute, the Generals put it in play off the eastern side of the front court. And Johnny Brewer outbreaks Palmer for it, goes in for a dead crip. 3 field goals for Johnny Brewer, and it's Kentucky 90, Washington and Lee 64, and we got 45 seconds to go. Daughtry in front court to Lassman, who has it knocked down again by Brewer. Slammed up on the boards, it's taken by Ross of Kentucky. Moves up in front court, 2 on 3, goes into the left, spins and jumps to shoot. Whistle under the basket, and a foul against Washington and Lee's Gary McPherson, his third one. Into the lineup for the Generals is Tom Moore, who's 6'2", weighs 180. Moore, a 19-year-old sophomore from Burlington, North Carolina. Coming in for Washington and Lee's Gary McPherson. 34 seconds to go as Ross of Kentucky shoots and hits. Ross will take the bonus shot. Kentucky in front 91-64. It's good. 92-64 for the Wildcats. Marshall out of bounds, puts it in play to Lassman, a left-handed dribbler moving up the court, changing hands. Cuts to the left, spins away and hooks one up there, no good. Rebounding is Palmer, has his shot blocked, picked it up, shoots it good. Phil Palmer gets the field goal, his first of the game. Timeout Kentucky with 19 seconds to go. Their second timeout. And let's take 10 seconds for station identification. Johnny Brewer is hurt and called timeout because of the injury. Brewer seemed to have been hurt, but it's okay now, apparently, as they don't want timeout and go back to play. Ross in front court fires a 20-footer that's good. Harold Ross gets his first field goal of the game to give Kentucky a lead of 94-66. Pass comes up in front court to Daughtry, who breaks for the basket and shoots it up, no good. The ball game ends, but we believe a foul has been called on Hardwick of Kentucky. Johnny Hardwick of Kentucky fouling as the game ends. Will give a free throw to Jack Daughtry of Washington and Lee. Daughtry hasn't scored and doesn't score now as he misses the first one. Has one more try coming, and it's no good. So the score remains Kentucky 94, Washington and Lee 66. Well, we'll have the individual scoring in just a moment. Right now, we'd like to remind you that experience is important in any type of business, particularly so in farming. For over 70 years, Standard Oil petroleum products for agricultural use have been the first choice of Kentucky farmers, a choice based on long experience and profitable results. The constant high quality of Standard Oil fuels has produced a record of dependable, low cost per hour performance for farm tractors that speaks for itself. If there's a tractor on your farm or in its future, include a Standard Oil farm fuel in your plans. Crown or Crown Extra for gasoline tractors. Standard diesel fuel for diesels. Standard tractor fuel for distillate burning tractors. All three have been farm proven for profit by farmers throughout the South. Now, before we check into the individual scoring on this opening game of the basketball season, let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky, 26 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Kentucky has been led in the scoring column tonight by Vernon Hatton, sophomore of the year, coming back to act as captain of this 1956 opener against Washington and Lee, to hit for 26 points, 20 of them in the first half, where he hit for 7 field goals in his first 7 shots at the basket, and he hit 6 out of 7 free throw opportunities. In the second half, where he saw very limited action, he picked up 4 out of 6 in the free throw line and 1 field goal, as Kentucky was unable to hit at all from the field after a blistering 61.5% in the first half. Hatton had 26 points to pace the Wildcats and take the early lead among the scoring derby here in 1956-57. Second in scoring was Jerry Calvert, who picked up 14 points, 6 field goals, 2 free throws. Johnny Cox tonight, in his first start with the varsity, had 10 points, 4 field goals, and 2 out of 3 on the free throw line. Those were the only 3 Wildcats in double figures. Here's the other scoring. Abe Collinsworth tonight had 4 points as he hit 4 out of 5 free throws. Harold Ross had 5 points, 3 out of 5 free throws, and 1 field goal. Ed Beck had 8 points in the first half, where he picked up 4 field goals, missed his only free throw in the second half. Earl Atkins had 3 points, a field goal in the first half, 1 out of 2 on the free throw line in the second half. John Krigler, 8 points, 3 field goals in the first half. He hit 2 out of 3 on the free throw line. Adrian Smith, 2 points on a first half field goal. 4 points for Bill Cassidy, 2 free throws in each half. Johnny Brewer, 6 points on 3 field goals. He missed 1 free throw chance. Bill Smith, 2 points with a second half field goal where he missed his only free throw try. Johnny Hardwick, 2 points on a second half field goal. Jay Bayless and Dick Howe were both in the game, but neither scored. Lewis McManus and Ray Mills, who's still recuperating from a broken jaw, neither saw action tonight. Kentucky led 58-25 at halftime and won 94-66. For Washington and Lee, Lee Marshall, who pumped them up there from start to finish, ended up the scoring champ with 30 points. He had 3 field goals in the first half and came back with 7 in the second half for a total of 10. He finished up with 10 free throws as he had 11 in the first half, 5 in the second. Here are your shooting percentages on the game as they've just been passed along. Kentucky ends up with 42-9. They drop under 43% after that 61.5 first half. Interestingly, each team had 77 shots at the basket tonight. Kentucky picked up 33 field goals and Washington and Lee 24. The Generals shot a very fine 31-2, and thank you, Ken Kuhn. How many years has it been since 31-2 would have easily won a ball game? Not too long ago, is it? Well, from Lee Marshall's 30 points, you go to Dom Flora, who fouled out with 1 minute and 45 seconds to go. He had 17 points, 7 field goals, and 3 free throws and 6 tries, and they were the 2 Generals in double figures. Barry Storick, co-captain, had 8 points, 2 field goals, and 4 free throws. Phil Palmer, 3 points, a field goal, and 1 out of 2 at the free throw line. Frank Hoss, who fouled out with 16 minutes and 54 seconds to play, had 4 points, a field goal in each half. Barkley Smith, 4 points on 2 field goals in the second half, where he missed his only 2 free throw opportunities. The Generals who did not score but were in the game were Gary McPherson, Malcolm Lassman, Jack Daughtry, who missed the 2 free throws, and that was it. Kentucky 94, Washington and Lee 96, and that's the highlight picture from tonight's Kentucky Washington and Lee opener. We'd like to thank our statistician Bob Cox and our engineer Elvin Sutton of Lexington radio station WVLK, and Dean Martha Holmes, who was our guest, Sarah Holmes rather, who was our guest at halftime tonight. Now this reminder for you to be sure to listen in on Monday night when Standard Oil Company and Standard